Republican leaders have claimed that social media companies censor their views, and a popular term that they've used is shadow banning. It's a term President Trump has previously used as well. And this weekend, he continued his criticism of tech giants. He tweeted that social media is totally discriminating against Republican and conservative voices, and that the president added that censorship is very dangerous and impossible to police. Well, for more on this now, we turn to Dan Primack. He's the business editor and pro rata newsletter writer for Axios. He joins us now from Boston. So, Dan, I want to start with this term of shadow ban. Republicans have popularized it. The president's used it in a tweet about a month ago. Can you explain exactly what is it?
Shadow banning. So it's technically an old term in technical world, but as far as it goes with Twitter, the argument is that Twitter is basically stopping people from seeing certain tweets without outright banning or deleting their accounts. The reason it's a shadow ban is the idea you don't know people aren't seeing your stuff, even though they aren't. It's worth noting, though, it's not really happening. What Twitter's doing is they are indeed demoting certain things kind of in their autofill boxes or in their search boxes. But if I'm following you on Twitter, for example, I'm going to still see all of your tweets, whether they have, quote unquote, shadow banned you or not.
So another Republican who's really heavily criticized tech companies is House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. And on Friday, he actually posted an image of tweets from Fox News host Laura Ingraham. And he said that it was not suitable because of potentially sensitive content. Do you think that this is really a legitimate example of shadow banning?
It's not a shadow banning. The thing that's tricky about shadow banning is that it's not based on the actual content of the tweet per se, usually, or even of the account per se. What it is it's an algorithm that's based on how that account or how that tweet is treated. So, for example, if I tweeted something and suddenly 200 bots, pro-Trump, pro-Democrat, automatically retweeted it, which is something that Twitter feels is kind of a violation, right? Having these automated accounts, then it might, quote, shadow ban me for a little while so that doesn't happen. So it's really more about what's happening to the tweets after they get tweeted than what the person's actually doing. But Twitter and other companies similar way have acknowledged that they have not perfected this yet.
And, you know, your colleague at Axios, Mike Allen, actually quoted an advisor for Donald Trump Jr. who said that social media companies were first coming for Alex Jones, and now they have targets on their backs. The president even echoed this with his Reuters interview, saying that he wouldn't name names, but that it could be you tomorrow that's being banned. You know, why have conservatives really tied their overall criticism of social media platforms to Alex Jones's specific case?
Well, for starters, I don't think they should. Alex Jones isn't. Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist who has said a lot of things which are factually untrue and which are inflammatory for no reason. I think tying yourself, if you want to be a legitimate political player, to Alex Jones is a mistake. And I think, and look, and ultimately, social platforms are private companies. They have a right to allow or not allow who they want on the site. But there is this bigger question, which is that we consider these social platforms to be kind of our public commons, right? Where we're supposed to have discussions. Maybe we're yelling at each other, but we're supposed to have discussions. If you have one side of the political spectrum that feels it's unfair or it's tilted, that's going to be a kind of a broader problem for all of us. So it's something the companies have to get their heads around. But I do think folks on the right have to realize there is not really any evidence of systemic shadow banning, bias, et cetera.
You know, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey told the Washington Post the company's considering several changes to reduce what he calls our echo chambers, you know, such as labeling bots and promoting alternative views to move forward discussion. So how do you think that those changes might alleviate concerns from conservatives?
I don't know if they'll alleviate, but look, they would be good changes. These companies are in a really tough spot, right? On the one hand, if they ban people or block people or demote people, then they're accused of bias. On the other hand, if they let everything through, they're accused of, promoting fake news and allowing conspiracy theories to run wild. So they are in a really tricky kind of rock and a hard place, and I think they're trying to make their way through. I think it has taken Twitter a little bit longer than some of the other platforms to kind of get its head around the idea that not everything should be able to go. So I think they're playing catch up a bit. But the echo chamber thing, look, I think it would be great for all of us, whether it be Facebook or Twitter, to get other points of view in our feeds, which we don't necessarily get because we're so often following people who think like us, who talk like us.
You know, Jack Dorsey was on CNN and he talked about political bias. I want to play that bite for you.
Are we doing something according to political ideology or viewpoints? And we are not, period. We do not look at content with regards to political viewpoint or ideology. We look at behavior. We need to constantly show that we are not adding our own bias, which I fully admit is more left-leaning.
Make sure we're not adding our own bias. What do you make of his comments, Dan?
Well, no doubt. Look, Twitter's based in San Francisco, and Silicon Valley, generally speaking, is a left-leaning place. It votes Democrat generally. That's certainly true of most tech workers at these big tech companies. So yeah, it is always important to make sure that and kind of try to take yourself out of your own filter bubble a little bit when you're one of these companies to make sure you're not doing anything. And I do think it's one of the reasons why you've seen Dorsey. Look, before CNN, his first interview was on Sean Hannity's radio program, and he has repeatedly brought in leading conservative voices to talk to him and express their concerns.
Dan Primack, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.